righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I am Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and we've got this wonderful, look at this panel we've got tonight. We've got Melissa Barker, our archive lady is in the house. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Cheri. Hello, JD, Jenn. Good to have you all tonight. I'm an archivist. I work in a county archive here in Tennessee, so it's good to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Bernice Bennett in the house from Jeannie B. Roots. She's here. Hi, Bernice.
Hello. Glad to see everyone.
Glad that you're here. And then we've got Shelley Murphy, the family tree girl. She's here with us tonight.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you.
We've also got Kathryn Lake Hogan. She's, for me, she's way down there on the bottom of the screen. Looking for Ancestors is her blog, her business. And so if you need to get a hold of her, that's how you get a hold of her. So we're really glad to have you here tonight. Thanks for being here. And as you can see, we've got our relative race shirts on. We finally all got them. Melissa's got hers posted in the back.
They didn't have my size. I'm kind of a big girl. And so
They got my size.
they didn't have my size.
Why am I backwards?
No, we see you. We see you right.
It's fine.
It says relative race. It says relative race, but
Yeah, it's backwards for me.
Yeah, mine is too.
I am so excited tonight because we have Team Black with us. We've got JD and Jenn. Yay!
Hello.
We are so happy to have you here. We are so excited. We are so sorry that you're here because you got a third strike. Because we can't get y'all people on until,
Till we get our third strike.
Oh, that, you know what? But you got that golden ticket, and that made it better because you got the golden ticket. And what a journey, JD, what a journey. I mean, was it what you expected? Was it more? Was it when you came, why did you even decide, relative race is something that I want to do?
Well, how much time do we have?
We got all night.
I don't even think it was really a decision that we consciously made. It just fell into our laps, to be honest. And, our daughter was watching TV, came across the show and called and said, Mom, you and Dad need to do this show. And I just kind of laughed her off because who goes on a TV show, number one? And I just kind of joked with her and we said, honey, if you can figure it out, we're up. We're game. Like, we'll do it.
Oh, don't ever do that with your kids.
I know. She took that as a challenge and ran with it. And within about 3 hours that same night, she had made enough phone calls and figured out a way in, and the producers were calling us. And we had a call with the producer and then a long phone call with the genealogist as well.
Right.
Within 5 weeks from the time we found out about the show to the day we were in Virginia was 5 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's truly miracle after miracle after miracle that this came to be. Unfortunately for relative race, unfortunately for us, they had another Team Black that they'd been working on for about 8 months.
Oh, wow.
Black, in the last moments,
Decided
they couldn't do it.
Oh.
And relative race has a long list, hundreds of people, and they started to work that list.
We don't
to
know
see,
exact numbers.
Did I say an exact number?
You said hundreds.
Well, it's hundreds of people that apply for the here.
Yeah.
And they started to work that list, and they couldn't get anybody to get close. And as a last-ditch effort, they reached out to us after our daughter had reached to them, and they said, it's a long shot. It probably won't happen, but can we at least look at your genealogy? And I said, sure, go ahead. I mean, I have like 375 fourth cousins. I don't even know what to do with that. And handed it off to them, and within a couple of days, they came back and said, we can make a story here, and we'd love to at least explore that with you. And for a couple of weeks, we figured out what that meant, and then 3 weeks later, we were on a plane.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
It was meant to be, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely meant
It was
to be.
time. It was time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's real quick before we get more into your story, let's talk a little bit about what happened last night. Now I know y'all, have you watched it? Did you watch day 9?
Yes, we watched
Okay. I know that from talking to past team members, y'all really don't know what's happened to the other teams other than what you hear on the Skype call.
Yes.
So as you're watching it, you're kind of seeing things the way we're seeing it and going, whoa. So day 9, we've got 3 teams left. We've got Team Green with that advantage. They get to make a team wait for 5 minutes. And
that was really great logical decision making on their part.
I did too.
Yeah.
Pay back a little bit.
Pay back just a little bit. But it didn't seem like a mean payback. Y'all are all good to each other. So it wasn't a mean kind of payback. So they had that coming into it. I think it was wonderful that Deshay gave her biological mom the book with the pictures of Houston. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was
Very
just
sweet.
beautiful. And then Anitra, her uncle Kevin, gives her the shirt, that he'd worn, and the little coin and all those things, and was, giving them all that pep talk, which worked. So,
For him, for sure.
that worked, yes. And then of course we had Ray and Nicole, who were, they were planning. They
They had all their ways out of town.
all their ways out of town, and luckily they they said, well, if they give us a destination that we haven't planned, I guess we're not going. But luckily they are going to Raleigh. And I always die every time it's somewhere in the South, because I'm in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I'm like, I ain't gonna been there.
Yeah.
Why didn't I know the teams were going through? We had one just about 40 minutes from me once, and that was killing me. So
Yeah.
when I was watching it,
Just look all around for those big yellow. We're bound to run
Big
into
flying things.
Yep.
you just never know. So what did y'all think about that challenge?
It was bad. We've talked about the challenge since, because you guys know we're all really best of friends.
Yeah.
And the challenge, we've heard all about the lard,
The lard.
the cocoa powder, and yeah.
Kind of ironic.
His germs, he says. Ray said,
Tastes like the flu.
it tastes like the flu. It was eating germs. Chris can't swallow the cocoa powder
Can't
for
swallow
anything.
the cocoa puff. No, the puffs.
The puffs.
Yeah, the puffs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Oh,
It
my
wouldn't
gosh.
go down.
Wouldn't
Yes.
go down.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hysterical. And I'm like, I hope you guys don't all have a stomach ache and can't even do whatever the challenge is for day 10, because they're all sick.
I don't even think we've heard of some of the things they were eating. The salted.
Oh, I know.
Radish. Wasn't it a
Where?
radish? No.
It was strange stuff.
Yeah, I would like to know who came up with that nasty food and
That's
what
right.
kind of bad mood they were in when they decided this is what you're going to have to eat.
We've now met several of the challenge producers, and people may not understand this, but there are different kinds of producers for different parts of the show.
Mhm.
And each team has a challenge producer that's responsible for the challenges. They work together early to put all of these challenges together, and then they kind of control the environment to make sure that it's executed as fairly as possible. So they're the ones who came up with all the questions, the answers, and the foods.
They've got people direct for each challenge.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, okay. Well, see, we need to.
Imagine.
That's who we need to get a hold of, is whoever's producing these challenges, because we keep saying you need to put a book together. These challenges would be fabulous.
yeah.
Family
Fun
reunions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
They
keep
would.
saying,
Yes.
we keep telling them to do it, and so far
I know,
nobody's
we
listened
said,
to
"Hey,
us.
We'll buy the sling and fling from you. We like it. We had fun on it.
I offered them real
And the
money for the trebuchet.
yeah, we
and
were like, we'll take that off our hands. We can do stuff with that.
I don't know. That sling and fling, I looked like it was going to kill somebody. So I don't know.
Yeah,
But with this challenge, I wonder, did they have a paramedic or something, or some water or something
Cocoa
just
powder.
in case?
Yeah, really.
The cocoa powder, they said it was rough. They
Oh,
said
I'm sure.
I mean, you could choke.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Just-
did. Deshay had,
I thought Deshay was going to lose it.
and I thought I was going to lose it right with her, because she started going, and I thought, oh my God, my stomach.
She said, I hope Tums comes at the end of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't, we're the last to brag, I think, ever. We hope to be the last to brag. But Jenny and I watched the show last night, and we answered the questions before they answered the questions. And out of the 15 questions that they asked, we got 14 of them right. So we would have moved right through that.
Oh, wow.
And you're like, why wasn't this challenge in place of another challenge I had to do,
Just
right?
kidding. I'm just kidding.
We would have had the 3 spoonfuls of lard as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
For the first one.
I can't even
Just
imagine.
kidding.
I can't even
Just to
imagine.
think.
What would happen if they didn't eat the lard?
Don't you get a tiny
I don't
little
think it was
tea?
an option.
So a few years ago, I won't say which year and I won't say which
Yeah.
team, but I've become very close with many of the producers and we talk about different circumstances. This team would decide we're not doing the challenge.
We remember that one.
Okay. I'm not
Cheri,
saying,
do you remember the couple and they left?
no,
No, it wasn't that
Not
one.
that couple?
those guys also got frustrated, but those where they would challenges, you have the certain amount of time and then there's an additional amount of time that before you quote unquote time out of that challenge. And so, well, I don't care. What are they? Is Dan going to call me at my home and tell me I'm naughty? I don't.
That's
And they
okay.
would
We
just
got
wait.
control of Dan.
That's okay. We got Dan. We got Dan. It's
We
okay.
got
It's
Dan.
fine.
You're okay.
So this particular team would just wait. They just decided like we can't do this. We're not going to be frustrated by it.
Yeah.
We'll wait until that period of whatever the
We'll
opt.
take the loss of the time.
We'll take the total amount of opt out time and then we'll move on.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you know what? Like the
It's
challenges
fun.
were fun. We
Oh,
had
yeah.
when do you get to play in your life like that? And when
Oh,
do you-
exactly.
so
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
love the challenges. The food challenge would have been hard for me.
Would have been hard. But, you know, Deshay's right. When you see that on TV with other shows or whatever, you think, oh, you can do that. No.
Yeah.
no.
Very
I
gross.
don't think the challenges are that great. That fun. It was panic mode for some of those
Oh,
things.
for some of them. Probably.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, even getting in the car, you're either going to do it or you're not. You're going to drive safely or you're speeding like all get out, you know. No, those challenges,
Speed.
that
That's
was
the one thing.
stressful. It was
Yeah.
stressful.
Oh gosh. So let's talk real quick about the relatives that they met. So Deshay, does anybody? I feel like I'm doing all the talking. Anybody want to talk about who Deshay met? She met a second cousin, right?
Yes.
Right. On her father's
On her father's side.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The thing I thought that was so sweet about that is when she reported, she said, you know, Mike wanted me to do this for Deshay.
Yeah.
Just so sweet that she wanted to do it for her cousin Mike,
Cousin.
and then to give that love to Deshay. That love family. I'll tell you what, I was blessed with an incredible family, but that love family is incredible.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're just
Yes,
pulling her
they are.
in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And without any issues or any problems. So I love that. I love that. Somebody's got a dog barking. It's all right.
Someone's knocking at our door, and our
Oh,
dog
of-
sees a watchdog.
they want an interview as well. So
Exactly.
that's exactly what it is. I told you we are very informal. We've had kids walk in. It's
I was
really
gonna say,
fine. It's
yeah, we
really
got-
fine.
People. So yeah, Deshay's second cousin, she was very sweet and kind
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But Duche was smart though. She went to an ambulance. She found an ambulance.
Mhm.
Asked for
Right,
directions.
The
to
dress.
get the directions. Yes.
Right. Uh-huh.
That was very, very smart of
Yeah.
her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I have to mention though that they came to Memphis.
Yes,
is
they
in-
did.
Yes,
Oh,
they did.
my gosh.
Oh, yes, the duck walk.
The duck
Yes.
walk.
You see Chris's
Everybody knew
face.
about the Peabody
I've been there
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in Orlando, Florida.
I've never heard of such a
Also,
thing.
At the Peabody Hotel. Yes.
You never heard of it, Cheri?
No. I never heard of
Oh,
it.
I
The
have
duck
seen
walk.
it. Yeah.
Carolina.
Well, apparently Chris hadn't either because that's what
No.
he said. Oh, hey guys. How are ya?
So
We have Nicole and Raymond.
we live
No,
in
no,
a
no.
full contact house.
Well, you should.
That's
good.
okay.
You've got how many grandkids?
Well, we have 6 kids, and then we
Yeah.
have 6 grandkids and almost 7. Our
Yeah.
7th grandchild will be born in January.
Good for you.
Right.
Oh,
Good for you. I know
congratulations.
I know all about the kids and the grandkids. Don't worry about it. I just happen to have my door locked so they can't come in.
Yes. That was our 10-year-old strolling in with a friend. So.
See? That's fine.
Right.
That's absolutely fine. No big
Well,
deal.
they can have camera time too.
Yeah,
to say
sure.
hi.
We don't.
He
We don't.
quickly
mind.
made his way out once he realized.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh goodness. So yeah, I was laughing at Chris, and I even on Twitter last night. Apparently they have ducks, and he was like,
He was unamused.
Yeah.
He was
No.
unamused.
Deshay thought it was
Oh.
really fun, but no, he was. He thought
She
that
was like a little kid.
Yes.
But they do it at the Peabody in Orlando.
Did they really?
And back when I was living in Florida and had to go down to Orlando for something, it was a big deal, just like it was there. And when they get on the elevator, that's when I just lose it. I think that's the best thing.
It's
Walking in
hysterical.
on the red carpet and walking out on the red
Hysterical.
carpet and getting on the elevator.
That is so funny. So talk to me about Ray. Oh my goodness. And meeting his cousin and then finding out that his biological father had passed. And JD, you know all about finding that information. That's, I mean, you can't be ready for it.
There's no way to be ready. I think the big difference for me and Ray is the years of perspective. I didn't find out until I was a grown man. I had my own family. I was very happy and content in my life and in my circumstances. My biological father was going to be a bonus, not a necessity.
Right.
And as I've grown close to Ray, he and I talk a couple times a week. We've obviously traveled to visit with them and spend time with them. There's a big part of him that he's still trying to figure out how to fill in some of those holes that are there. He has the information, but the information hasn't given him the closure I think that he's needed or wanted yet at this point.
Right. And you can feel that the whole thing of I was second best and, why wasn't I chosen to stay and all of those kind of things. Your heart just breaks for him.
And it is especially hard just knowing that he won't ever get the answers he's looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah,
he won't. He can't. And I know that he was given information about brothers and a sister that I'm hoping that, he's been able to maybe find out some more of that information, but we'll have to ask that whenever he can.
When he gets on with
when
you.
he can come on. Yeah. So I'm hoping that maybe that will help him a little bit. I don't know. I
know Lamont has filled a huge hole in, like, having a brother in Lamont has been really
and to get some answers, like he was saying, when he met Lamont, he thought that they had the same father and that he was just totally given away by both mom and dad, and they kept the one son, and he had a whole different vision in his head, a whole different scenario in his head about what had happened than it actually happened. And I think that happens a lot for kids that are adopted if they don't have any details. And this show gets to me a lot. Y'all don't know me, but I have biological children and adopted children, and so I think about them and their stories. And so far they haven't gone on any of these journeys, but there's things, and there's things that I might not want them to know, so it's kind of difficult.
I think that's not exclusive to adopted children. I think we all sort of develop these stories in our head about who we are, where we came from, what our individual weaknesses, strengths, and challenges are, and then whenever we have to face those and really evaluate who we are and how we show up in this new life, whether that's because we found out that, in my case, that the dad that raised me, the dad that I love and cherish, isn't my biological father, then you're kind of faced with this. Well, then who am I? What am I? Where do I go from here? But I think for all of us, I think each of us have kind of created our own story, and sometimes that story is not exactly as perfect as we hope it would be.
I agree with you. Let's talk real quick about Anitra. Oh my goodness. Shelley called it last week. She goes, oh, she's got to meet her dad. She's got to meet her dad. And just that scene where she's walking up to the door, I think we all knew, kind of like we all knew Deshay was meeting her mom. And so you just see that.
You can see Anitra's face change.
Yes.
Immediately.
Yes.
The moment she realized.
She knew it.
Yeah. And when
he watched her face change when the minute she figured it out without him even saying it.
Right. And it was so hard for him to say it, to get the words out. It was so emotional, and so I can't even imagine what it's like perhaps, to be looking for somebody like that and then to have them say, I'm your mother, I'm your father, whoever, your brother, whomever you're looking for, to have them say that, it's just got to be the most, I mean, you can't even put it into words.
Yeah.
How that would be. So I'm thrilled for her that she's been able to get information about her mother from her father. You know, he's been able
I know.
to.
I thought it was sweet how he said, "You look just like her."
Yes. And I'm thinking, you look like your dad. That's what I was thinking. So.
But that was a tear up moment though, when he said that and talked about the smile.
Yes, the smile.
Yes.
See it in the picture, and I just thought, oh my God, this stuff is killing me. They're driving me nuts.
Yeah, go ahead.
He instantly had so much love for her.
Yes.
An instant. It wasn't manufactured. Hey, I love you. It was from the depths of his soul.
Right.
He was proud of her. He could see all of her beauty. He was it was fun to watch him watch her.
Yeah,
I agree with you. And
there was another part when he said he'd like to meet her parents.
Yes, and tell them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I loved that.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was really beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the eye contact that was really emotional for me, was them looking at each other. And you don't even know if there was thought with that.
And I like the way she said when she, prior to meeting him, she had this moment of, I'm going to like give it to him. I'm going to ask him all the hard questions, and I'm going to, like kind of make it hard on him. And then she just softened and just was forgiving and accepting herself. It was.
Well, I can imagine, as the teams, you're thinking, who am I going to meet? And this is who I want to meet, and what am I going to say when I find them? But then on the other side, their relatives know a lot longer that they're going to meet you.
Correct.
And so they've got time to process what they want to say, what they want to share. Even if it's just a short amount of time, they still have more time than you do, because you don't know who's on the other side of that door. And so I'm wondering if
they're very brave to do it.
Yeah, they're very brave to do it. And y'all are very brave to film these things. So we've talked about this before. Do you get to a point where you say, okay, please stop filming this? Because I really don't. I wonder, JD, about when they asked you if you wanted to go to the cemetery. Was that a moment where you weren't sure if you wanted to go?
Another tearing up time.
You took a moment, which I think we all would have done, but we had wondered, I wonder if he didn't really want to take the whole camera to the cemetery when he sees his dad's grave for the first time.
I don't think it was about the cameras at that moment. Mm-hmm. I think for me, I didn't want the moment to end with my aunt. I didn't want to leave that moment. And it was just such an incredible experience to feel her complete love, whole family, for her brother, for me. And I just didn't want to leave that moment. It wasn't so much about the cameras. I didn't even, to be honest with you, at that moment, I didn't even realize there were cameras in the room. It was I and Aunt Linda and
this book that was so simply amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what your demographic is exactly, but I will say that heaven was very alive in that moment, in that room. And I didn't want that to end. Connected to my ancestors than I ever knew possible. And that was sort of my hesitation. The graveside was great, and I was glad to see it, and I was glad to see where my grandparents were buried and where my biological father was buried. But I knew that wasn't going to change anything for me. And so literally, I just wanted to stay in that moment, which was actually changing me.
Completely understand, and I know that everybody on this panel and everybody watching completely understands. We've all had those moments with our ancestors as we found them, and they speak to us and help us find them. So we know exactly what you're talking about, don't we, ladies?
Yes, we do.
We know exactly what you mean. And so thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. You said some beautiful things that to to the teams that night, day 8, and I actually wrote it down, and we said I read it last week about how you were saying that if they weren't able through the journey to fill those holes in, that your hope that you could help do that, and we thought that was just beautiful, and we've just enjoyed both of you so much, and your what's a good word, guys? I'm speechless. You've just been such a wonderful team on the show, and showed so much courage and respect for the other teams, and love.
Funny.
And funny.
You gotta say funny.
Yes,
you guys are a hoot in the car.
That's true. This is true. So what do you think is different, before we go into the results? What do you think is different this season? I can't put my finger on it. There's something different about that connection with the teams.
Yeah.
I mean, the other teams are connected and they talk to each other, but there's just something different this season.
JD and I, the very first day we met them, it was the 10 days or so before the race had started.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all filtering into this room to have lunch, and you could kind of see the hesitation, like, you could read the other teams, like, are we going to sit with each other? It was middle school. At the same table, are we not going to sit at the same table?
Yeah.
JD and I talked before, we wanted to be their friends. Of course, we wanted to be their friends, but JD, just said, nope, we're all sitting together. We're in this together. And he said, if you guys will let us, we want to love on you for the next 10 days.
Oh, I love that.
How nice.
And you do know they called you the matriarch and the patriarch of the...
Yes.
Makes us feel extra old, but there you go.
But that's okay, because that, I think, might have been the different flavor from the previous seasons, is because you guys came in and you had different experiences, and I don't want to say the younger group, but the other teams, your grandparents, you know what I mean? So
we had a little bit different look and perspective. It was, to go to day 10 and to win the money would have been like amazing.
We would have kept.
We would have cashed the check. We would have gone on vacation. Those things, but it was never our overall.
Yeah.
So maybe, and I'm not saying that it is their other teams as well either, because like I think genuinely we all really just wanted the experience.
Exactly.
But that lunch, I think, that kind of solidified the fact that we were going to be more than competitors. We were going to be friends, and we were going to be experiencing these things together. They were the first ones to know that JD's dad had passed away. Nobody else. Our kids didn't know that. Our parents didn't know that. Like, we lived in this little bubble where we had to rely on each other, and we had to be there to support and to be the cheerleaders. And we've done it ever since we even got home. It's been a phenomenal relationship.
I have a question before we end all of this.
Okay.
Sure.
Two questions.
Okay.
JD, you and your sister, number one. You guys are like twins. That was beautiful.
That poor girl.
That's number one question. And my other question is, and again, the show is over. We know, we got another week for the live performance. Have you met your brother yet?
So
can you share that?
Sure.
Okay.
So Angie and I are very close, and we look a lot alike. And I tell her all the time, I feel bad for her because I know what I look like, and it's not good on a man. So woman, that's unfortunate.
You're both darling.
Exactly.
And just so that the whole world knows, we've seen each other every weekend since the race.
Oh, wonderful.
And so it's been, and
she comes to baby showers and birthday parties and lacrosse games and random dinners, and we are together.
That's beautiful.
I don't want to tell her story. It's not for me to tell, but when your dad dies and you're 7 years old, there's a certain amount of pain in your life that you get to experience.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so together, we've really worked to heal a lot of her pain associated with her dad and our dad's family, and she's been able to have a remarkable change in her life. It's as much as this was for me.
Mm-hmm.
it's it's been for Angie.
Yes,
That's beautiful.
that's wonderful.
Wonderful.
Beautiful.
I'm happy for her.
And then as much as it's been for the two of us, it's been for my father, Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
I've literally heard him say from heaven, thank you for this gift. I can finally rest in peace.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
He's needed some things to come together and some things to change so that he could rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been a remarkable gift. In terms of my brother, we've started to text.
They're texting.
That's good.
Okay.
We're trying to figure out our way.
We're planning a meeting.
The show makes you face that hard thing, which
Like
is
in
beautiful.
an instant. Yeah, I mean, you don't have, you know,
Right.
this is what you do.
I've never had a brother. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this with this man who, for me, I would want to just race to his doorstep and just embrace him. And I think it's taken him some time to come to that same place. And I think he's here now. And I think here in the next several weeks over the holiday, we'll have an opportunity to meet.
Oh, that's
Great.
wonderful. You
Because
know,
you had some similar backgrounds, the coaching
Yeah.
and things like that. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd love to see a picture if that ever
if
gets
that
out
ever
there.
happens.
You know.
Pictures, and we will put them out there.
Oh, that's
Okay,
great.
great.
You know
Appreciate it.
what's so beautiful about the show is that those people that you meet want to meet and things work out. It might be tough after, but sometimes this doesn't always work out. And so that's kind of, you know, this with your brother doesn't mean it's not going to work out. I just mean sometimes it's not as easy as sometimes it looks on TV shows.
Sure.
And he does live in another state, and
Yeah.
you know, there's distance there that we've had to overcome.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are texting, and they're taking baby steps.
that's great.
Good.
That's great. We have felt as we've watched the show that we can feel the love, that everything is coming from love and it's coming from that family sense. You know, yeah, it's the race and all that. And hello, whoever's going by again, tell them to say hello. Tell them to say hello. But we can feel that sense of love, and that they're trying to make sure that everybody involved is okay, that they're all, you know, that they're all okay. And so I think that's why everybody loves the show so much, is because of that. It comes across the screen. It comes across. And so, you know, we appreciate that. Let's move on really quick so that if anybody else has got some questions for you afterwards, we can do that. Let's talk about the results. Oh, I was just so hoping that we'd have all three teams, because it's happened before where three teams have gone.
Yeah, it has.
And I was so hoping, but
So sad.
I think, well, you know, and Team Red got their final strike, and I really think not having the correct road is what.
Because we did the same.
Yes, you did
Yeah.
the same
thing on
thing.
day 4.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
read the address card a little too quickly, and
Yeah, and how easy that can be to do. And then, you know, pulling out the map and just thinking, oh, this is the
drive.
road.
Yeah.
Just drive. We've got to hurry, especially when you're under that pressure of knowing that you could get your third strike. I think anytime we're under pressure like that, we may do things that, I mean, it's just any of us could have done that. So I do think that that's probably what happened. And it didn't seem to hurt Team Blue that they had to pull over for 5 minutes and do their karate and their all their stuff they were doing on the side of the road.
Well, Anitra said something during the challenge. She said, I figured out the wording, or I mean, she had kind of challenge. I think
she figured it
and
out.
she's an English professor, and so I think she could just read those questions and see where maybe they were maybe not trick questions, but she could read them maybe a little more clearer. And
I agree. So I think they went through that
made it
challenge
to that
faster.
challenge.
Yeah, I agree with you.
That was what I took from that.
Yeah, and of course they came in first place, so they got to talk to their daughter.
Yes.
How sweet was that? That was really, really sweet that they got to do that. So it was very hard to say goodbye to Ray and Nicole. It was really, really hard, and you could just see it. You know, Ray had to take a few minutes and walk away. That's got to be hard. You know, you guys were so gracious, and everybody's gracious and they understand, but it's got to be so hard to.
Well, they got so close.
Yes.
Right.
So
Yes.
close. But
So-
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I worry that if I say something like this, it makes us like we're trying to pat ourselves on the back, and that's not it. I've been coaching for so many years, and I've coached some really terrible teams. And you can't find more than one way to win, then your season all hinges on only winning. And so Jenny and I as a couple, Jenny and I as friends, Jenny and I in our community, we found that we have more success when we bank on everyone else's success.
Correct.
If ours also comes, then that's great. But when we're in it for Ray and Nicole's success, and for Paul and Anitra's success, and for Chris and Deshay's success, then our joy is 3 times the joy we would experience on our own. It all just stop competing with each other and compete for each other. Our lives would be more full, and our joy increased.
Are you running for president? We need that so bad right now. I'm sorry. We need that speech to be on the podium right now.
You're so cute.
I'm serious.
After, and you're just going to make my
his
whole
campaign
night.
manager.
I will be the campaign manager. Absolutely. You know, Family Search could hire me to market, not Family Search, Relative Race can hire me to market this program. There's a whole nother part of the United States that has no clue about this.
This
There's
is
just a few of us.
It's best kept secret in the world.
It's a little.
It really is. Everybody would enjoy this. I have to hook my laptop up to get it on the TV so the 89-year-old mama can watch this show. Yeah. She missed you guys. You know. She knows you're gone.
We all did.
We're doing just fine.
Yes, absolutely.
That's good to know. So one of the big questions that we've had, JD, is how is your family handling, and I'm not talking biological, I'm talking about the family you were raised in, how are they handling the new family? How is that working out? Or if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine too.
We are an open book. You can ask us anything.
Okay.
We'll pretty much tell you.
I will tell you. Yeah. It doesn't. I think it's better than it's ever been. When my grandmother told me about the biological father situation, it was my dad's mother. And he really felt betrayed. He really, because he came home from Germany serving in the military, and here my mom was pregnant, and they had dated on and off in high school, and he didn't expect her to wait for him. But when he came home and she was still available, but now with this baby, he just made the determination that this is going to be my family, and we're going to make it.
They promised each other that JD would be theirs, and nobody else would ever know the wiser.
The fact that my grandmother had gave this information to me really did hurt my father. He felt betrayed by it. And it really had hurt our relationship over the last 12 years, because he didn't know how to talk about it. He didn't want to keep confronting it. He just felt like, I don't know how to be this kind of a dad to you, because I only wanted to ever be that kind of a dad to you.
Right.
The fact that it's out, and that I've been on the journey, and that he's now met my Aunt Linda, met my sister, that he found out my biological father had passed before I got to meet him. In a way, I think it softened his heart to the whole situation. He felt a little bit badly that I didn't get a chance to meet him. He felt like that was my right. And so in a way, I think it's helped him. I think it's helped us to let some of that. I have a saying that I tell my boys that I coach and in our home: in the absence of really good communication, negativity enters. And that can be from all different sources that negativity comes in. But when you aren't communicating,
easy to think the worst.
It automatically happens. So it's increased our opportunity to communicate. As it relates to my mom, I think
she watches the show every week twice. She has been super complimentary.
She's proud of us for how we behaved, who we were.
Well, she should be.
Engaged the people.
Absolutely.
And then there's some truth to the fact that the truth will set you free. having this big burden off of her shoulders has lightened her load.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been a blessing to her. I've never felt closer to my sister that I was raised with. She is my sister, and I've never felt closer to her. I think
all in all, it's just strengthened
both
of our bonds with, I mean, even though I knew most of my family, my sisters, my parents, it's just made family become more, I mean, family's always been our number one, but it's just,
it's heightened it.
It's heightened it.
We've have appreciation for it.
Just more people at the table.
Exactly.
Say it again.
I mean, more people at the table.
Always.
Yeah. Now this.
Aunts, they're coming to the table.
It's fine.
I built.
He's gonna show you our big dining room.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Woohoo!
Love it.
I built that table so that it could seat every single member of our family.
Once our kids
they're
get
married.
It's like
That's
one of our
beautiful.
kids and their spouses to be around our kitchen table together.
Oh.
And who knows what grandkids will be doing? They can just run amok through our house.
Exactly.
But as long as all of our kids have a spot, then
yeah.
No, I think it's overall been there's not been anything negative that has come from relative.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. You know, that doesn't always happen. So I think that says a lot too about your family and the bonds and the love, and it really does, because like I said, it doesn't happen a lot. Sometimes it can rip families apart, and so
it's just made it all better.
That's so wonderful.
And we talk to and see Aunt Linda and the cousins that you guys weren't able to meet all the time. I speak with Marjorie quite a bit.
So day 8, we obviously we got our golden ticket. Linda. Day 9 would have been her 4 children.
That's what I was just going to ask. Yeah.
Children.
Okay.
And so we actually did our own day 9 with our kids, though, because we came back to our home. We grabbed all of our kids the next day, and we went back down and we met all of the family on our day 9.
Oh,
how nice.
And so when people say, are you disappointed? And for me, I wasn't at all, because I actually got everything I wanted and more than I ever expected. And I didn't have to leave my home again. I got to be here with all my people.
Exactly. That must have been so hard to be driving going, that's where we live.
No,
we got to keep going.
We were about a half a mile away from our home is all.
Yeah.
I remember you guys were driving.
Yeah.
It was hard.
I happened to watch that night with a friend of mine who lives in American Fork, and she was going, I know that place. She was loving the episode. You know? Yeah. And I said, but how hard for them, to be so close to home. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people think, wow, they're such wimps. I mean, it's only been like 7 or 8 days or whatever. And while that's true, those are some of the longest days that you might ever experience. 16, 18, 19-hour days with cameras in your face for 18 of those hours. The emotional toll. Physical. I'm not a crier, as you guys can tell. But this has brought out all the tears. And so we were physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually exhausted. And when you get to that point of fatigue, you start
everything makes you cry.
And you start things that bring you joy and strength and comfort. And the thing that brings us the most joy and happiness was just right there.
Yeah. And all you had was a flip phone. You couldn't even.
They wouldn't even let us call. We never spoke to our family once in the race.
So hard. And we're so used to that. We're so used to just picking up that phone and contacting, checking on everybody every day. I know we've got a family chat, and I swear that thing goes off every 2 minutes because my kids are just sending some kind of silly picture to each other, Yeah,
my married son turns it on silent because we text so much. He's like, I have of you people, I'll get back.
Some of my older kids do the exact same thing, and we haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. Well, it's because he's got it on silent because he doesn't want to put up with the nonsense. So.
He's like, I've got a job, I've got to work, and you guys just keep on talking.
Exactly. So I know how hard that must have been. So I've done a lot of talking. Anybody else want to, Kathryn or Bernice or anybody else? Melissa?
I have a question. Question that's just been a burning question since it happened. And so I just have to know. I don't remember what day. You have to understand, this is my first season to watch Relative Race.
Nice.
People have been urging me. Cheri's been urging me every year. We need to watch Relative Race, and I'm like, it's reality TV. I don't do reality TV. I'm a real serious person. I'm thinking I don't watch it, but I have to tell you, it's the best show I have ever watched. But the question I have is, and I don't remember what day it was on, is when you had to get into the white truck and go up to those campers. Did they live there or were they on vacation? That was so weird.
It's for families.
My Uncle Glenn, my mom's brother, he and his kids camp.
That's what they love
4
to
or
do.
5 times a year together.
Right.
They have razors and trailers and horses, and it's what they love.
And they could have picked one of the houses, and they could have all went to one of the houses because none of them wanted to do it without all of them. It's a theme in our family that it's literally in my biological family. It's all of us all the time. And so then they thought, how fun would it be to go camping? And
April in Utah, probably not the best time to go camping.
But the day before was gorgeous, and the day after was gorgeous.
Of course.
It was nasty.
Terrible. So that's what it was. It was just
okay.
Melissa was wondering if it was a commune or something.
I know. It's so weird.
And here's the funny part about that relative. JD's cousin, Scott, his wife and I pass each other on the trail here in Draper every morning when we exercise. We know it.
Wow.
So when we pulled up, we were all like, we kind of looked familiar, and we told them where we lived, and they lived just a half a mile away. And then all of these similarities and people they know.
Oh, wow.
In-laws, family, like it's just not too far removed from this family for a very, very long time.
That's fabulous.
And every day they want you to do some fun thing with your family so that they can show it, like the ducks.
Yes.
And for us, we went on razor rides
in the mud.
It was a blast. The one guy is a little bit crazy, and we drove way out of hand. But then they didn't show any of that, and I was so disappointed because it was really a wild, fun time.
Well, we've talked for years too that they need to have a show with like little bloopers and with
bonus footage.
With the bonus footage that we don't all get to see. So,
because when they're filming 4 teams a day for 16 to 18 hours, and then they condense it into 1 hour's worth of TV. Right. There's a lot that goes on that was amazing.
Yeah.
But
we have so many amazing, miraculous stories. There's a whole dove story that we can't get into, but they followed us. Literally, these 2 doves showed up every single day on the race.
Wow.
You need to write a book.
Well, we've been told
a book, and so that could be something.
Well, if y'all decide to do it, let us know, and we'll get you on, and you can talk about the book.
We've got a friend of ours pushing us right now.
Oh, I think you should.
This week to really dig in and figure it out. So.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Go ahead, Bernice.
It's real simple. When did your day start? What time?
Like 6 a.m. generally.
We had some pretty long days because of the drives.
We were about 6 to midnight every day.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And what doesn't get seen, and I don't mean to dispel it, and maybe it makes it sad for people to understand, when we meet our relative for the first time, they're capturing it with 2 or 3 cameras from 2 or 3 different angles, and it's real. But the drive up to the house, the walk up to the house, it's 4 and 5 takes of that same thing because they want to
before you even knocked on the door.
And so everything is incredibly
everything
lengthy.
Is long, yeah.
So the very first day when we're changing those tires on those race cars, did that 6 or 7 times. I was so I'm old. I was so physically exhausted. I think I lost like 18 pounds of water weight in that day. We had gotten on set that morning at
like
5:30.
5 or 6 a.m.
So we're on set 5:30, which is 3:30 our body clock.
Right.
We didn't leave Virginia International Raceway until 4:30 in the evening because we had filmed for that long.
Oh my
goodness.
Probably we don't want to take away the magic of TV.
No.
of TV.
Yeah.
But it is
every
TV.
channel.
We know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we drove 7 hours to sleep for a few to drive some more. And we loved we don't want to sound like sour grapes. We loved every single second of it. We feel so blessed. But it is a tremendous amount of time, energy, and effort.
Mm-hmm.
So when we get up at 6, it's like you are on from 6, and we finish because of our drives until midnight every single day.
Oh, wow.
We for most days at about 12,
10 o'clock,
12:30.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, her aunt, her cousin, we got to eat at like.
We're probably saying way too much.
Yeah,
They
we
don't even
probably are.
care to know.
Oh, no. Wait, no.
No.
We're good.
I would say,
We want to know it all.
I know those cars that you drive in are not comfortable because my son has a sports version of the exact same car, those little Velocities. And the same car, it's the same car, right? So I know that they're not comfortable because they're so small and you sit so low.
You feel every bump.
You do. Yeah. So
I've had
I
back problems ever since. Maybe that's the problem.
No, you feel every bump. So we drove a total of about 3,100 miles.
Oh,
I felt every bump of 3,100
Oh,
damn
gosh.
miles.
It was amazing. Like
Awesome.
there is nothing that I mean, I would not trade this experience for anything. It was
right.
simply perfection in hard, happy, like all the emotions amplified.
But you think about it in life, what beautiful thing comes without sacrifice and pain?
That's true.
And really not very much.
That's true. That's
We
very
get the
true.
sun that rises every day and it sets every night. But beyond that, everything else requires pretty significant sacrifice and pain. And we would pay that price over and over and over again for the reward that we got.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's awesome.
Jen,
Really.
before we go, I don't want to leave out the fact that you got to meet some people too.
did.
Were you expecting to meet anybody along the way?
No, I mean, they said, can we look at your DNA? They had me overnighted because I hadn't done my DNA. I mean, my DNA, but I did my DNA, and no, I was quite surprised. I really felt like, who are they going to find for me?
Yeah.
I had 2 really pleasant surprises.
Yes.
And we had
They are the
Great visits.
most darling women on the planet, both of them. Amazing.
my dad's really close to his cousin, so he sees it.
Well, I thought it was funny that she knew things about your dad that you didn't know.
Yeah,
He knew.
I mean, yeah, so he sees her quite a bit, but I think I had met Shauna, but it was 4 or 5 years old. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then Marjorie is just one we share a common ancestor, and I never had met her. So, and we've since been out with her and her husband, and they're
Aw,
big people, and we have a lot of as well.
that's beautiful.
But yeah, very surprising. But the feedback I have gotten
Okay.
is, we were kind of excited for you, but we really wanted just to know more about JD's family.
Oh,
my God.
It's true. You know, because you go on this, like, you're so into who is he going to meet?
Oh my God.
You know, so they were like, "Yay, Jen met a family member."
we were all excited. We were all excited for
I
you.
was so excited.
I was delighted to have the night off because
Yeah.
my
You're like, good, a day I don't have to cry.
Yes. There you go.
That's too funny. Let me
Yeah.
ask you, does anybody else have a question before we wrap this up? Because we've kept you a whole hour. I'm sorry. I told you we'd start talking, and
Great.
you know.
we love it.
What would you say to somebody who's in your position that's maybe looking at the show and wondering if it's for them? Somebody who's looking for biological family. What would you say to them about doing the show?
Well, I don't know what your chances of getting on the show are, to be honest. I don't think they would have picked us. We're from Utah. That's kind of an X on our
We're
name.
older.
We're
I think we're a little
older.
bit
We happen to have, we practice a religion that they don't necessarily want it to be about the LDS Church. And they're trying very hard to make this thing that we fit all the boxes they don't want. So we got lucky, and they were in a bind. And so as a result, we got to do the show. But I think that what I had heard was that they have about 400 people apply every year. So I don't know that your chances of getting on the show are very great.
But if you do get picked,
Do it.
do it.
I would also say that I had 12 years to do something with this great gift, and I didn't do anything with it. And I let my own fear about what it could do, the negative. I was so worried.
He completely focused on the potential negative rather than the potential positive.
My fear was this, that my dad, my biological father, was this great man, and he had all these children and grandchildren, and he had had this summer before his life changed that was a little wild and no one knew, and now he was going to have to face that with his family. And what if it disrupted a teenage grandson or daughter? It frustrated the family in some way. I didn't want to be any part of that. And so I opted not to do anything about it. We'll be forever grateful for Relative Race and the opportunity that kind of forced our hand. I would say to people, if you are curious, keep digging and do everything you can, because in the case that we found on the show, those people aren't going to be around forever, and you need to try to create those relationships while you can. Exactly. Because once they're gone, you don't get to recreate them.
If this man does not write a book, I'm going to be hurt. Oh my God!
Right.
If nothing else,
you're making him feel so good about it.
School education is not ready for book writing.
Well, then you write it for your great grandchildren.
You write it. Yeah. You write it. If it never got published to the world,
but at least to have it.
The family has it. The family will
need to
have
write
it.
this down. Your whole journey. You really need to do it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. We are so grateful to have you come on and talk to us about your experiences, and we have just loved watching you on Relative Race, and I hope to be able to talk to you again sometime. Anytime you'd like to come on the show, we're great. Next time y'all get together and have a little meeting like you did last weekend?
We're already trying to plan our next vacation.
Oh.
We've got our matching shirts.
Come to Myrtle Beach. Come to Myrtle Beach.
We told them they have to come to the West Coast next
week. Yeah.
We were the ones went East Coast, so
okay.
West Coast this next
time. All righty.
We'll see. We will see. But Myrtle Beach would be great.
Yeah, it'd be fabulous. We'd love to have you down here. So thank you again.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time on GenFriends.
Bye, all you guys.
Bye,
everyone.
Bye.
See you.
And I always have to hit the button.